We have the second Couchtalk about Aletta and talent, and I would like to welcome 3 of our younger members. In the first place, Hermine van Dijk, first chair of Aletta Talents and currently assistant professor health economics at Groningen. Hermine. Jelle Brouwer, PhD candidate in linguistics here in Groningen, who chaired Aletta Talent Network during the pandemic. And Thomas Rijmersma, former student assistant of Aletta and now PhD candidate at Erasmus School of Health Policy and Management. Welcome. Yeah. So youth and talent. You're all 3 of you were part of Aletta's talent network during your studies. I mean, starting with you as a first chair of Aletta's talent network. What has Aletta brought you?
So I think one of the nice things about the School of Public Health, and this is perfectly illustrated by how they responded to the idea of, like, well, we should involve junior researchers. They said, okay, nice idea. We trust you and we give you the responsibility and the aid to actually make this happen. And I think that's how the School of Public Health has responded to a lot of ideas like that. So the trust and responsibility granted by the School of Public Health creates a lot of opportunities. Without it, we wouldn't have the talent network, for example. And then in a broader sense, when I just started out doing research, or I'm just starting out maybe, but the fact that the School of Public Health has offered like these insights into different disciplines, different fields, into daily practice, etc., it broadens your horizons as a researcher, and I think it makes you a more humble researcher, but maybe also a better researcher because you know more of what is out there.
Okay. Jelle, I see you're nodding, so you can say same as Hermine, but what's your perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I think I completely agree with what Hermine said. Especially what I really liked about joining Aletta was getting to know researchers from wildly different disciplines from my own, being a linguist. It's often not something related to public health in most people's minds. And yeah, I really liked that it brought me new perspectives. It taught me to think of questions I otherwise wouldn't have even thought about. And the impact it had for me personally is that through Aletta, I got to know some researchers from different faculties, and we got to talk. And one of the chapters in my PhD thesis is actually the direct or indirect result of being a member of Aletta, because otherwise I would have never had that idea. So that's it's really nice.
Thomas.
Yeah, actually, when I was studying, I wasn't even part of Aletta's talent network yet. Only after I graduated, I got into contact with Aletta, and it really, from the start, broadened my horizon. I had a bit of interest in science after, getting my degree, but actually, Aletta really confirmed me in my conviction that I wanted to pursue a career in science, or at least start a career in science. Yeah.
Okay. Another question for you, Thomas. When we heard Johan talking this morning, or this start of the afternoon, he started talking about impact and the long time it takes to measure impact, especially in the health part, public health part we are in. What makes it attractive for a young scientist to participate in those programs which has such a long perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think Dorine mentioned or referred to the report on the healthcare landscape in Groningen, and I played a marginal role in authoring that report together with Jochen. And I think it's about the prospect of having impact, because when Jochen asked me to help with the report, I was like, okay, that's interesting, and I didn't hesitate on thinking about the impact it would have. But I think if you can make clear that you can have impact as a researcher, as a starting researcher, that's very important. So yeah, it takes a long time to generate impact, and only now I hear that the province, it influenced the decision making of the province in making their policy. So that's been 3 years or something. Yeah.
And Jelle, how to make impact sexy for students?
I think there's a lot of different ways. So I think I agree with Thomas in the sense that lasting impact is often a process of years and years and years, but also in the short term, there's definitely possibilities for impact that are also achievable during your PhD. I think science communication events done right are a great way of creating impact. So for instance, if you have a science communication event and people really like it and they listen to you, it might actually spark a change in their mind, and then in the long term that might lead to some sort of behavioral change. And in a way, that's sort of a grassroots version of creating impact, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I agree with the thought that you have to make it visible that you can create impact, and I think one of the good things in which you can aid researchers just starting out in this is by helping them connect, because when you're just starting out in your field, you probably don't have the network yet that enables you to see the kind of impact that you might be able to create with your research. So by connecting with people in daily practice or policymakers or target populations, you can see what kind of research they might need for to improve their daily lives and their policies. And you can communicate your results back to them and see how that can aid them in creating a better future for everyone or more healthy years for everyone. And I think that in itself, like seeing that, is motivating.
Okay. And you as young people, what would you advise Aletta to better reach out to students in the coming years? How can they be even more attractive for young students, young researchers?
So I would, yeah, I don't know about you. So I think the School of Public Health is already doing a great job, and I think by just continuing doing this, actively involving researchers who have just started out and help them connect to people they might not necessarily connect to within their department or within their scientific community, I think actively keeping on doing that is a very great way of achieving that.
Thomas?
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think what I valued so much in that they had the confidence to hire me as a student assistant, and I think that is something very important. Also, maybe doing internships, yeah, that kind of stuff. Really get out there, and also what was said in the previous keynote. Yeah, be prepared, and if you have an apprentice, yeah, introduce them to others. So there's also a job for professors and assistant professors and associates to help apprentices make impact.
Jelle, you were chair of Aletta's Talent Network during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I think we remember the pandemic in this room. Yeah, we do.
It rings a bell,
Something.
yeah.
It rings a bell, something. What was the impact for you as a student for the Aletta Talents Network, and what did you do to maintain the connectedness with other students and with Aletta as a partner?
So one thing we did initially at the start of the pandemic was reevaluate what are we doing now, or what have we done in the past, and can we still apply this in this sort of strange times. So we did some interviews with PhD candidates and who were and who were not yet members of Aletta's Talent Network. And we really looked at, okay, what do these people want out of Aletta's Talent Network, especially now? And we figured out, okay, well, people are really busy adapting to these weird circumstances. It's just better to have fewer actual events, but then make them a little bit bigger. And that, I think, really, we got a lot of positive feedback about that, and I think that really helped us sort of compensate for well, some of the damage done by the pandemic.
Okay. Thomas, you're working now at Erasmus. What is your main takeout? What has changed you as a person or as a student? Now you're not a student anymore. By Aletta, what has it learned you, or maybe changed you as a person, or didn't it?
I think Hermine started her talk with that it broadened my horizon. So when you're a PhD candidate, you're so very focused on your small island, but I think Aletta taught me to broaden your horizon and also pursue interests outside the topic of your PhD.
Okay. I would like to thank you very much for this Couchtalk. Jelle? Thomas, Hermine, thank you very much and enjoy the setting.